complicated, so you wouldn't have to worry about anything. I wouldn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, not even sure how I would compete.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of SEO Fight Club. I'm just popping out the YouTube chat so I can keep an eye out for questions and reminding people to ask questions because sometimes we can't get to all of them. So keep that in mind. If it's really urgent and really important to you, it's better to ask it sooner than later. Today, sorry we missed last week. I'm trying to sell a property, so I had to go out of town to fix it up to put it on the market, and that's why I wasn't around. Um, and today, I'm back and not a lot to announce. The development on the pivot of my software is going very well. It's really cool. I'm having to refactor it a lot because I keep getting all these awesome ideas, and I'm like, well, I want to allow for that in the future, so I have to kind of think about the structure of everything right now so I can do it later and all that kind of stuff. But it's pretty cool. We're gonna learn a lot this year. And I've already learned just volumes about how Google has changed and how to work with Google today. Um, and yeah, I'm getting all kinds of information, and so like I'll be able to tell you, what opportunities are above the fold, below the fold. Uh, it can tell you how many page down events a Google result set has, how many linear feet of vertical scrolling you have to do. Um, yeah, so just tons of information coming in. A lot of new factors are are in this data, and one of the really cool things I like is that there's the real potential to take this technology multi-channel. So going to TikTok, eBay, Amazon, YouTube, you name it. And so that's kind of the dream is going multi-channel. And so it's going to be pretty cool. But more on that as we get into the beta. So we're still 2-3 weeks out from a closed beta.
Yeah,
Ted, do you
still
find
cool.
that since you've already made Cora and you made it, several years ago, making a new program, making a new thing now, is it easier, harder? Is the process better because not since you've kind of done it already, or is it all everything's new again?
Yes and no. Like, I know a lot better how to do certain things. So obviously, those things that I've done before are, still pretty easy, and I have reference code and AI to help me. The new things, dealing with how Google is treating different situations differently. That's kind of a new problem space because now I kind of have to see the world as a logged in Google user or an incognito browser or a headless Chrome like an SEO tool. And Google's showing different results to those different contexts. And so uh, a lot of people are working on keywords that aren't great opportunities if you want human traffic. And so you got to kind of triage your keywords all differently. So the keyword research is where SEO is changing the most. And it's not because Google changed the algorithm. So the ranking factors are still what you use to rank. Like that's the same as it's ever been, still just as easy as it's ever been. It's the opportunities have changed. So, which of your keywords are effectively page 4 versus have a chance of being above the fold? Those are the opportunities you need to find. And so SEO is changing into how do you triage, which channels have good opportunities to get traffic. And so, the world's changing. But with that, does anyone have anything they need to announce before we let Lee take it away? Nope.
Nope.
All right. Lee, take it away.
Let's see if you're going to let me share.
No, of course not. I'm not that kind of pro.
All right. Well, I will do it as mime then because I've been practicing. Let's see. All right. Let's back up here. From here, back up, back up. Let me move this out of my way. All right. So about a month or so ago, did a thing on Fight Club, a little slide deck talking about SEO being dead. And at that time, we were looking at, some of the new AI SEO things, and how a lot of people had courses, training, these sort of things out there for what was an unproven and evolving space. So at that particular time, we raised some questions, and I put some challenges out there to people. I said, hey, bring some data on these things. And privately, in a number of discussions with SEOs who had various theories about, GEO or AI SEO or AEO or whatever you want to call it, all the different acronyms, how it worked. And so, if you don't have data, what I got was not data from anybody. I got a lot more theories. People were just, I got deluged with theories, and you see it all in the SEO groups on Facebook and, Teams or wherever you're in there. So I said, to hell with it. Let's just go grab some data for folks. So everybody knows, if you've been around for a while, that I have a tool set of keywords, 40 keywords that I use for a lot of different research. They expand and have a lot of breadth, so they cover a lot of space. There's transactional, there's all the different types. So I'm just going to walk you through some slides here really quickly. If you look for acne remedy, it pops an overview. And over here, you'll see these numbers, 1 and 3. That means that this particular thing that it pulls from ranks organically number 1. This one ranks organically number 3. And Ted, before you ask, yes, I was logged in. So this comes from logged in data. So this overview, came from those two things. It ranked organically number 1 and number 3 is where it pulled this information from. We go with some of our favorite keywords like DUI lawyer Los Angeles. There's no AI overview. The reason is it's a local search term. Usually those don't have AI overviews. But if we add a modifier like best DUI lawyer Los Angeles, now we pop an overview. And this particular overview was pulled from the sites, the pages ranked organically in positions 1 and 4. If we go to one of our other favorite keywords, yoga pants, can't not include yoga pants in this. Well, it's going to show you a whole lot of shopping carousel type of things. So it's not really going to pop the AI overview. But if we do something like yoga pants origin, it pulls the result, and it's a single result from the page that ranks organically in position 5. Now, if we go through a few more of these, how to delete Instagram, organically 1 and 4. Lose weight fast comes from organic positions 1 and 3. Mesothelioma lawsuit organic positions 1 and 6. That actually surprised me a little bit. Mold removal costs, organic 1 and 3. SEO link building, organic 1 and 4. Web hosting, organic 4 and 2. We can do this crap all day long, and you see the same sort of results popping up overview after overview that they're pulling from those top, those top ranking organic positions, but not always. So I did find some that didn't meet that, and those can be instructive as well. Like best nootropic. Best nootropic, this one, the Psychology Today was in position 4, and this one was not in the top 100. So it was an interesting one. It pulled it from somewhere else. But there are some clues here that I thought were interesting. The overview says choosing the best nootropic is subjective and depends on your individual needs and goals. So it doesn't know how to answer the best nootropic. And then it says, hey, we can talk about categories of nootropics. And then it pulls that down. It changes the subject, which is an interesting finding. And we see that in a number of these where you have something that is a little bit unclear, and it kind of throws up something it knows and something else. It's kind of guessing at it a little bit. Much like when you get a diversity of search types where you have an ambiguous term like turtle. It doesn't know if you're talking about the Teenage Ninja Turtles, or you're talking about the reptile, or you're talking about the candy. Boat insurance was another one. Very, very interesting, because when you put up boat insurance, the stuff that ranks in the organically on page 1 are all the major insurers, with the sort of get a quote type pages. So this was a get a quote type page, but down at the bottom it had FAQs about, what's covered under, boat insurance, and a little bit about the basics. This thing was not there, but you can see the answer is a general answer about what is boat insurance, which is a little bit different than all the get a quote sort of context there that it's on page 1. Another thing that we see is things that have low content, a low number of pages that are going after the term, like sexiest SEO. Sexiest SEO, guy that ranks in position 1 is there, but there's not a lot of pages that are there, so the SERP's pulling from a lot of other places. And over here, we see one of the answers, the sexiest man in London article and a leading SEO expert. So it's like grabbing from somewhere else outside the SERP. But again, you see in the AI overview, the phrase sexiest SEO likely refers to. It's not clear. It's ambiguous. And when it's ambiguous, it'll pull from other places. Other low content terms. I said, let's push this a little bit. Best Quora SEO software training. Well, you can see here it pulls an answer, how to use Quora for SEO, 15 best SEO courses. I'm not even sure what that is. And I love the answer. It starts out, for comprehensive training on Quora SEO software, consider courses offered by SEMrush, Ahrefs, or training programs from Robbie Richards. Now, I happen to know that none of those have modules that deal with Quora training, and I'm not sure any of those courses even mention Quora. Again, the AI is confused, so it kind of reaches around a little bit. So I asked it, what's tested SEO training? My stuff. And it started talking about SEO testing training. It got confused. It's looking at this and going, all right, if you want to do SEO testing, and it gave you some things there. And I said, no. Let's put it in quotes, which is one of Charles' favorite tactics. What is tested SEO training in quotes? And it has a mixed answer. Some of the answer refers to my training. Some of the answer refers to just standard SEO testing. But it's interesting, when I made the what is tested SEO training formal, capitalized, it was like, oh, you mean the course. So at that level, it finally understood and could pull the right things. But before, it was confused because it's not a well-developed brand. By the way, Bing got it right out of the box, no quotes, no capitalization. And Bing also does it the same way. Its AI overview pulled from the things in positions 2 and 3. Now, we see this a lot. If we search for like Oh, go
Before
ahead.
we move on that Bing one,
Yeah,
does that also work in ChatGPT if you ask what is tested SEO training?
I haven't asked in Chat GPT. That's a good question. Somebody wants to do that and just throw in chat what they found. That would be cool. Um, it would depend on whether it was going from its training set. It would probably be ambiguous, and if it said I don't know, so let me go look up from results, it'd probably give something like this. Would be my guess. So did you pull it up? Actually, I'm just wondering, Ted, did you pull it up?
I just pulled it up, and
Yeah.
I did tested SEO training capital.
Okay.
Um, it's giving me a very generic answer. It says tested SEO training, which it put in quotes, generally refers to search engine optimization education that's based on proven experiments, real world case studies. Um,
It's a generic answer. It doesn't.
it is a generic answer. I'm just scanning it because it's giving me a lot of stuff. It's just like it does
Yeah, but
mention examples of, oh, so sorry here, Lee. It does examples of tested SEO training providers. It does not mention you. It
So I did
mentions,
it and it gave me the generic answer.
mhm.
But then uh, I said, no, the course. And then it started pulling up your schedule and all your
Okay,
information.
I gotcha.
So there's just a disambiguation situation because it doesn't know if you're asking a general inquiry or is it a branded search.
And that is an important distinction here because where you see confusion here, you're likely to get things that are not necessarily what's appearing on page one of the SERP. So if we go a little bit further on this, if you look at like best electrician near me, it actually pulls, you can see it pulling from inside of the pages. So here I'm in Oklahoma City, it talks about Griffin Electric, Anderson, Miss Handy Hands, Active Electric, and you can see some of those appearing a little bit here. And if you go to those pages, you can see, it's basically pulling its answer from the top 5 here on Angie's list. So it's a page it referred to, it pulls those top 5. Here's some great electricians in Oklahoma City. I was pulling content directly from the page. Not a surprise. Now, the other day, I was doing some search, and I was doing it on a test site that I have that I built, and I'd written some new content, some new pages on pergolas. And I said, let's see which ones are ranking. And it said, hey, information about this website cannot be found. The search results primarily feature products and information about pergolas from retailers like Amazon, blah, blah, blah. And it's telling you, it's like right here, we can't find what you're looking for. We don't have that information. It's not in the SERP. And I did it with another test site that I had, and it was even more blunt. It's not directly available in the provided search results. So the AI overview is telling you, not surprisingly again, that it's pulling directly from the search results. And if we go through these things over and over and over again, it's pulling generally from the people ranked in the top 4 positions consistently, unless there is some ambiguity with it, some ambiguous phrase or term or unclarity about what it is that you're looking for. So SEO isn't dead. SEO is the prerequisite for entry into the AI overview. We see that over and over again. The AI overview has not replaced SEO. It's taking the well SEO'd pages and constructing answers. Now, beyond that, if you have something that a search term and it's pulling from, let's say, positions 1 and 4, and you're in position 2, you're like, this is BS, man, I got overlooked. Well, there are things that you can do to enhance your chances of appearing in that AI overview. And there are some people out there that are doing some very, very clever things to enhance brands, enhance all these things, and put their desired pages up into the AI overview. And those are valuable things. But the concept that GEO, AI SEO, all these sort of things have replaced SEO and SEO is dead, you can't do it unless you're ranking on page 1, unless you pick some really long tail ambiguous thing like, does Ted Kubaitis wear different color socks? Hey, I popped an AI overview. Great. It's not a term that anybody's really searching for. So again, I challenge people, if you're going to make the claim that SEO is dead and here's the reasons why, don't be so foolish as to pick something that piggybacks on the back of well SEO'd pages. That's just silly. Now, at the end of the month, I'm going to Holly's Darkest AI gathering. And I know that there's a couple of people that are going to present some techniques and stuff like that for helping people pop into that AI SEO. But generally speaking, there's one of two ways that they do that. They either take something that's already ranking well and then move it into the AI overview, or they take something that's obscure and move it into the AI overview, but that's not really going to help anybody's business. So if you disagree, bring some data. I'm happy to take a look at it. I'm happy to modify. I'm happy to be wrong. But generally speaking, most of the stuff that I see out there is dependent on two types of case studies. Either they are pages that are already ranking well that they've managed to pop, or long tail crap that nobody cares about that they've managed to pop and think that they've discovered gold. Questions, thoughts, guys?
Got a question for you, Lee.
Yeah.
Looking at this stuff you call data, when we see a result, and then
Yep.
off the side you see a couple sources, are you leaping to the assumption that those are the only sources, or that's just two out of X number that may have included something in position 13 or 48 or
it's entirely possible. And I showed you some that didn't even rank in the top 100 just because there are some outliers and there were some things that were, you could learn from that. But generally speaking, for competitive terms, I haven't found anything that ranks outside of page 1, for the stuff that they pop up as references. So it's possible. I just haven't seen it. But again, like if I flip back through these things, you see overwhelmingly the stuff is pulled from positions 1 through 4. Occasionally you get a 5 or a 6. And I'm sure that if I did 1,000 of these, you'd have this sort of long tail distribution, and some stuff would leak out onto page 2 and possibly further.
Because one of yours showed most of this would be found on Amazon, Walmart, Home Depot, and those were not listed off to the side. So obviously it's pulling from sources other than those it's sharing. So
yeah. And it was an ambiguous, you were looking for looking for mydomain.com/pergolas.
Right.
And it couldn't find anything for that. And when it's ambiguous, like in several of the slides that I showed, yeah, it will pull stuff that's outside of that SERP to show you.
Yeah. So
for me, I'm sorry, but for me, even more interesting was that the Amazon, when it mentioned, was a link. Next to it was Walmart, and then a written out but not clickable link for the Walmart position. And I thought that was odd, that some of the sources in the overview are clickable and some are not, even in the same response.
Yeah, the features can change a little bit. Like sometimes it'll have a whole series of sources. Sometimes it'll have just one. If I change another thing, and Charles and I noted this when we were looking at stuff the other day, if you keep rerunning the same term, the AI overview will change a little bit, which is not a surprise. If you ask ChatGPT to summarize something, and then you open up another window and ask ChatGPT to summarize the same thing, you'll get slightly different summaries, or sometimes drastically different summaries, depending on the content and ChatGPT's mood. Any AI will do that. So the overviews can change a little bit, as well as the top sources that you see visibly without clicking down, here's more sources. But still, even though it flips stuff around, it's like choosing from those top organic results.
Yeah, if you Google a keyword like best SEO software, and you gotta be very alert, and because it goes by quickly. And when you're looking at the search results, if you click AI mode at that time, you'll see it like spin up this little pop-up where it's pulling 150 websites, of which 11 got cited in what it wrote up.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're doing some game where they're looking at 150. So my guess is if you're in the top 150 for the keyword, you're at least considered for the AI overview. So uh, that's an interesting point, because at that point you can start playing in the game to get that uh, you know that appearance. Now, I still think it's trash. They're citing 11 sites, but only 2 or 3 are visibly shown. That's trash,
Well,
Uh,
you can
I
also,
would also suggest to be suspicious of the overview. So, for example, I Googled best website hosting, and it gave me an overview. And if you looked at the sites that it was referencing, they were all affiliate sites. And wouldn't you know that the top couple references all had very generous affiliate programs? So, is the overview coming from good data, or is it coming from consensus of affiliates?
yeah, the only data they have is user engagement and authority and relevancy. And so I think Lee's totally right. This is going to be gamed in the same way that SEO is gamed. It's already being gamed that way.
yeah.
I know a dozen SEOs that are exploiting this left and right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, their their AI, while it can generate this nice text by stealing from all our content, um, it can't actually think yet.
Right.
So it can't say, really, why didn't, Cora make it to the AI overview list? Because you poached from the Backlinko article, and that's the one you used.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's not really research, that's emulating Google's top results. That's
Yeah.
what a high schooler would do if you tasked them to write a report about Google's top 10 results. You would get something like you see here.
Yeah,
Um,
and this I would say this kind of now, Lee, you've discussed this. Heck, you probably brought it up like 2 years ago when we talked about this. But the AI, one of the ways to manipulate is just flood the zone. To Ted's point, if Ted wants to rank, wants this core software to start ranking under best SEO tools, then if we all go out and make 10 articles talking about SEO tools and putting Quora as number one, I'll bet you we can get Ted in the overview with Quora.
Yeah.
It does, and that doesn't necessarily mean whether it's good or not. It's just it found a whole bunch of sources.
Well, it's the same thing, when you're trying to rank a web page, you're taking a look at what factors, what do I have to do? What do I have to craft on my page and my backlink profile, or perhaps my website even, to get that page up to the top of the SERP? It's no
that's,
different.
yeah, here's the black hat test. How many pages do you need to get in the top 150, because that's what Google was looking at, before you're cited as a source? Is it 1? Is it 6? Is it 15? Because
Mhm.
as SEOs, we struggle to get to number 1, but we can get 15 into the top 150 really easily. And if they all say this one thing is great, that's kind of a loud voice to the AI.
Ted,
So
it depends.
It does depend.
Because
yeah, I'm
whether
sure it
those are
varies by
authoritative or
keyword.
not, they could be low authority, could be high authority. They could be the ones that that particular AI is looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some keywords like yoga pants are really difficult to break into the top 100. But for, the broad 80% of keywords, I would wager most halfway decent SEOs could get 15 pages into the top 150.
Mhm. I would agree with that. So, and again, there's a lot of other things that, are open for debate where we don't have data. All right. So if I get myself into the AI overview, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Does it lead to additional traffic or additional sales, or does it lead to people not clicking as much on my organic listing when they're, not answered correctly or completely by the AI overview? All of these dynamics change, as well as Google's going to change that over time when they're trying to optimize for the things they're trying to optimize for. If they find that a different form of that works better, or it works for some types of keywords and not others. I mean, we've seen the expansion of the AI overview and a little contraction and then expansion. It's a dynamic feature at this particular point in time, and it's unclear how the market is interacting with it, other than it seems pretty damn clear that right now it does reduce a lot of traffic to sites for informational type searches in particular.
If .it spam became topical,
Mm-hmm.
holy cow, they could dominate with 80 of the top 150 results. So yeah, I think the exploit right now is how much of the top 150 can you take? Because if you get the bottom half of the top 150, you got the loudest voice in the sample.
Which, by the way, I was noticing over the weekend. I was scrolling down through some stuff, and I was seeing some of the .it spam is coming back. So,
Well, yeah, it's got a lot of voice. All those 10,000 different domains, if they have a unified message, they're going to start taking things over.
yeah. So,
So Ted, if being the bottom 50 of the 150 will get you presence in the AI overview.
That's 50 votes that you're
Right.
in the top list of best SEO softwares. So
Right,
if,
right.
if
So
they're all listicles putting you at number two,
to that point then, Lee, I would suggest that SEO is not only not dead, bad SEO is alive and well because it doesn't take much to be in the bottom 50. I can be one, 50 through 100 or whatever. That's easy. That's not the hard part.
I think it's an interesting test, because if you do go through and pull something off like that where you get a significant portion of lower ranked pages, does it pop you, or do the top search results get weighted much heavier, so that the chances of the lower ranking stuff penetrating or dramatically influencing diminishes? And that's why
well,
we test to figure that out.
if half of the sample disagrees with Moz's listicle that put Moz at number one,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it would have to consider that, or again, their AI isn't thinking, it's emulating the content it took.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just summarizing. I mean, again, it's an AI overview. It's an overview, an AI synopsis of the top ranking results with an asterisk, unless something else pops, that requires it to look elsewhere. So, real quick, I've had this up here before. Want to have lunch with me? We've been hosting lunches on Thursdays, virtual lunches for low number of SEOs, just a little small group. And we've talked about all sorts of different things. Had lunch with Terry. I've had lunch with Charles and several other SEOs out there that I've met through this. So if you're interested, it's a fun time. It's interesting discussion on a number of SEO topics with, no agenda in mind other than just meeting and hanging out for a little bit. So if you're interested, reach out, just pop onto there. And if you have reached out and you haven't heard from me, early on, we had some difficulty with some of the first emails going into spam filters. So if you just check into spam and then reply to the email that's in spam, I can get you back on the list. So, and that's what I got.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That was really cool. Let's see. Questions. Ted, I hear you're speaking at Steve's conference in Toronto in the fall. Yes, and I'm also speaking in India as well at the Amaze conference in the fall. Let's see. Ted, what do you think about chameleon mode as a footprint to move the needle and build trust with Google? The problem is it's another invented term that I don't know. So is that like a type of CTR human emulation trick, or is that a type of stealth SEO? Not really sure what it is that we're talking about. So yeah, if you could clarify, that would help. Have you guys heard of chameleon mode?
No.
Okay. It's sucks that we don't have Clint here today because he's probably heard of it. He knows whose course it came from. Let's see. How do you trigger volatility for a competitor that's ranking number one for 14 months? It's Wikipedia. Well, the reason it's pulling up Wikipedia to the number one spot is likely because there's some ambiguity to the search term. So I would double check the keyword, because if there are ambiguous meanings for the search term, Google is going to take the search results for one meaning and the search results for the other meaning and the search results for the third meaning, and it's going to card shuffle them all together. And that because it's doing that, that Wikipedia one probably has a bonus advantage for being at the top. Generally, you want to be more relevant for the meaning you intend, and you might have to just, settle for two or three if Google is card shuffling the ambiguous results. Lee, what do you think about this one?
You know, I admire the question. It's a great question. And there are methods, because this is sort of black hat. This is like, Ted is firmly entrenched in, number one for this particular, for yoga pants, and I want to shake him up a little bit. So I have an opportunity to be there. How do I shake Ted up? And there are a couple of methods that I am aware of, but I'm not going to share them publicly.
Yeah. Don't do negative
Not,
SEO.
not doing that. But, generally speaking, you don't have to do that if you just, be better than they are. If you're better than they are, then, and Wikipedia, generally speaking, is not as hard to beat as people think it is. I look at Wikipedia being number one, generally speaking, as a green light to go for the term, because there's no serious SEOs in the space. Now, sometimes it can be, there are those occasions, but generally speaking, that's my indicator of a green light.
Yeah, if there are three different contexts of your keyword and Wikipedia is ranking for the most popular one and you're trying to rank for the third most popular context, it's going to be harder to win that contest because Google wants to pander to the largest audience.
Mhm.
Let's see. Um, let's see. Derek Booth. A lot of SEO is in pay per click. and vice versa. SEO equates to quality score. I would say more of an online marketing aspect, but there are many SEO elements that would make up a great, yeah, PPC landing page. Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of touch points, and I always say SEO lifts all boats. You can take any channel marketing you want. A billboard out by the interstate turns into brand search. So if your brand search SEO is miserable, then you got a problem with your billboard channel. So definitely recognize that SEO lifts all channels. Let's see. Yet, Ted, do you think they'll get to a point where it can think on its own? They some do, slightly better for the analysis or the coding or doing math problems. Um, the apps that help me with my kids' map homework are really amazing because you take a photo of the word problem and it shows you the steps for how to work it out. So I look at those and I go, why can't ChatGPT do this? Why can't Google do this? And to a certain extent they can, but they still have a lot of issues. Even in the coding space, I find that it's 50-50 on what it gives me is what I need. It gets really close, like the 50% where it fails is 80% of the way to what I need. But I really want stuff that doesn't fail. I want stuff that works out of the box. So yeah, I don't think it's quite there. I don't think it's thinking. I think it's emulating, and I think it's dated. I think the code it gives me is based on libraries from 2 years ago. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of problems like that. What have you guys seen along those lines?
Well, I'll approach it from the other direction. If I asked you about, does Charles think, does Terry think, does Mash think, we can generally agree that they think, but they all think differently. What do they think? How do they prioritize? If I asked them, which do you like better, Ahrefs or SEMrush, you can get them into a debate on that with strong opinions on both sides or any other sort of question. So if AI could think, you know, will it think the way that we do? Will the different AIs agree with each other? Will they have their own, a different way of weighting stuff so that they prefer this or that? And will they understand, like if I say to Ted, hey, I did an LSI analysis, he might go, oh, and have a picture of what LSI means in his head that's different than the one that's in my head. So it's tricky when we think about this and we think there's going to be some sort of perfect understanding and perfect execution, and you don't have that in human beings, which is the model for the AI. So I'm not sure, even if it gets to that, when it gets to that point, exactly what it's going to look like.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Um, Ted, can you share more information about disambiguation? What is it? Why do we care? Why do we need to fix it? I think Lee used the example of Mercury on the channel in the past. Mercury is an element, it's a car, it's a Greek god or a Roman god. Uh,
Planet.
it's yeah, it's a planet. So there's a lot of different things people mean, and the amount of search volume for those different meanings is different. So you might find that the planet gets the most search volume, the element gets the second most, the Roman mythology gets the third most. And, if you're trying to get on it for some other context that doesn't have a search volume to the context, it's going to be hard to unseat some of those. So you can't really fix it. You just got to be specific about your context and try to rank as best you can. But Google's always going to pander to the largest search volume because it doesn't really know what you mean.
Yeah.
So it's kind of shuffling those contexts together.
Yeah. So if you have your software company and you name it, Mercury Software Systems, you're not going to rank when somebody types in Mercury, generally speaking, unless you do what Apple did to the fruit. And just, when people search for Apple now, they're overwhelmingly searching for the company, not, the fruit.
Let's
I would
see.
say that that's why the LSI and the entities and all these other words are so important in your content because it gives the search engine context about what it is you're talking about.
Mhm.
Um, the answer I always use, and I threw that in there in the chat, was I love the word plant because it has very different meanings. It could mean like a bush or some kind of life form. It could mean a factory. It could mean a spy within an organization. Those are all very different meanings. But if I say plant and then I say Detroit, Michigan Ford Motor Company, you automatically know I'm talking about a factory, a manufacturing plant, and an auto manufacturing plant. And I didn't use the word auto or car yet. Um, so that's, a way to think about LSI and co-occurring keywords and entities and whatever word you want to give them.
Yeah.
Let's see. What are some good ideas for increasing brand search for a new brand name? I kind of like the SEO spring training method where they have a QR code. That QR code can go to the knowledge graph entry in Google. It could go to a branded search in Google where they rank first. It can, there's lots of ways that you can get people to do a brand search. You can have third-party sites linked to the Google search that then links to the website. Um, just think about it in terms of that. If you're doing a press release, you could have the press release linked to the site, but also linked to a Google search that the site ranks for. So maybe one of the links, one of the keywords in the press release is a Google search link that then leads to your brand.
Mhm.
Um, just you have to get clever. QR codes, links to search, knowledge panels, things like that.
I think the core of that is there's basically two paths you can go down. One is, sort of a black hat path where you manufacture the stuff yourself, or the more natural, the more common one is you have to do something that makes people curious about your brand and want to go look up more. So if Ted took out, TV ads, then all it did was said, Cora V2 coming this fall. Everybody's like, what's Cora? What's Cora? So, there's going to be a lot of searches for Cora. And his stuff is going to be up there and the clicks and everything else. And then people are going to go, oh, what the hell is this software? It's not a good use of his advertising money, but it would generate the branded search traffic. So generally speaking, there is something that you do, and it could be ads, it could be events, something like that. If you think about it, when you get to the Super Bowl, people will quickly search term will pop up Doritos commercial, Doritos Super Bowl commercial. They're looking for these branded um, searches.
Let's see. How can I better explain the importance of brand search to some of my smaller business owner clients who don't really get SEO? Well, they get all the other channel marketing. So you could have somebody at a bus stop who just got an email from that person, but the email isn't loading quickly because it's bloated with lots of images and they're 4G at the bus stop. So they give up on viewing the email at the bus stop. They switch over to Google and they type in the name of the brand. So that will come up faster than that bloated email campaign. So a certain percentage of all channel marketing will result in a boost to brand search. If you have billboards, some of those will be brand search. If you have TV commercials, some of those will be brand search. And so you want to make sure that you're doing the quality branding. Google understands your brand because you want to capture those. If you're tested SEO training and Google doesn't get it, then you're losing some of your brand search to that ambiguity.
Right.
Let's see. No, the AI wars are coming and we will all be spectators. You know, possibly. You know, I see a lot of room for people to lose jobs to AI, and the more people that lose their jobs to AI, the more disgruntled uh, and panicked that population will become. So as that problem grows, as AI takes over more and more jobs, yeah, I could imagine there being a serious problem at some point. Um, you know, my kids are interested in careers in medicine, and I'm pretty thankful that they're looking at that route because I think doctors will probably be the very last thing that people totally offload to AI. Because I don't want ChatGPT doing my surgery. Um, you know, I'd want a doctor to look for the hallucinations and what AI is coming back with. Can AI help doctors? Sure. Can AI replace doctors? Not just yet for me. I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah,
What do you think, Lee?
there's the adoption piece because they're always going to have people that go, "You want a robot to do what to my, to take out my appendix?" But they just created one that did that, and unfortunately, my counter argument to that particular one is that the medical industry is where all the money is, medical and pharmaceutical. So there's a lot of AI development that's going on there. It's going on much faster than it is for, a nail salon or something, something else that's more
Yeah,
less money.
for putting a palette of options on the table for diagnosing a condition based on a palette of symptoms. I love it for that, but you still want doctors to think it through currently. Does that mean 10 years from now AI won't be better? Well, AI might be better in 10 years. But as you look at all of the jobs that are evaporating right now, I think a lot of the medical professions are probably going to be the last ones to be taken over by AI. I'm not saying they won't eventually be taken over. I just have doubts. And then, I think a lot of people would argue that plumbers will be the last job to be taken over by AI. And, there's good arguments for that too.
So I got some opinions on this, Ted.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And
Go ahead, buddy.
I'm gonna fight just a little bit on it. There was an article that was done by New York Times. Now, I didn't get deep into the study, so I don't know all the details, but it was I think there were three groups. It was doctors, AI, and doctors with AI. Um, Now, in theory, doctors with AI should perform the best because it's basically like having a second opinion. I believe they performed the worst, and I believe the AI did slightly better than doctors. So it was AI, then doctors with AI. With that
Well,
said, how was what was the study done? Would I trust my health? Just like to your point, would I trust my health purely to AI? No, I don't think so. Would I get on a plane if someone said, there's just an AI flying this plane, there's no humans in the cockpit? No, I don't think I'd get on that plane. I think I'd say put at least one person in the cockpit to keep an eye on the controls and the stick. Um, Now,
do
as far
you
as like
want to use
plumbing,
the appendectomy bot, or are you kind of worried that it might be a murder bot 2000?
I've heard about the robotic surgery, and emotionally, that terrifies me. However, I bet if I looked at it, I bet it's better. I bet it is better.
I
Just like a self-flying plane would probably perform better than humans. Emotionally, though, I'm not getting on a plane that's only being piloted by computers. Um, Now, with the blue collar jobs, here's something that I found myself. I use AI all the time to do home repairs. I was wiring stuff in my basement the other day. This was months ago, actually, almost a year ago, and I was having all kinds of trouble. I was Googling, I was watching my YouTube videos, the same things I always do, and I couldn't figure it out. So I said, let me try ChatGPT. Damn it, ChatGPT gave me the answer within a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Just over the weekend, I was fixing my riding mower, and the belt fell, the drive belt came loose. I had to put it back on, and there was a stupid spring hanging. And I'm like, I did not memorize where that spring was hooked to. So I did normal routes, looked at manuals, looked at online schematics, did YouTube. Nothing was helping me. I said, let me try. After like 2 hours of frustration, I tried AI. The only mistake AI said is it said the clip was on the right hand side and it was on the left hand side. I looked to the right. I said, I don't see a clip. I looked to the left. I saw the hole. I saw the little hole right there immediately. Fixed it within seconds.
Yeah,
Um,
right
so I'm
and
not saying
left
it's going to replace a
depend
plumber.
which way you're looking at it.
Yeah, well, that was what I was thinking too. Yeah,
Yeah.
the article that the AI was referencing was probably referencing someone saying, if you're looking at it, look, and it just remembered
If
the one part.
if
My
you're
point
looking
is,
at the mower from the handle, you get one. If you're looking at the mower from the front, you know.
Yeah.
I've always said that AI is going to replace mediocre thought workers and brain workers, but in some ways, AI can help mediocre people become better at other things. So I do not know engine repair. I do not know small engine repair, but I do with AI. I can get myself and I can fix a lot of problems. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
With the
for
tutor.
coding, I turn to AI to do a lot of entry level grunt work. I'd say AI acts is about an entry level developer can perform, and so what I've gotten from the gig economy tends to come out at the AI level, so why not just use AI for that? Um, so that's hitting programmers already. It's already hit content writers. It's already hit logo designers. I still think the best logos are designed by human beings because they can think. And that all comes back down to branding. So, those AI logo designers aren't really thinking about your brand and the human context of that brand and how people will search for it
Yeah.
and how people will see it.
Yeah. Emulation is different than creation. And that's what AI that's trained on logo design. It sees all these logos, it learns the principles, and then it applies them generically, based on the sort of the logos that it's been fed in its data set.
All
Um,
right, let's see.
Ed, Ed, if I may,
Yeah.
uh, AI for surgery, emulation is the ideal because
Mhm.
just last week, a robot performed 5 gallbladder surgeries flawlessly, no mistakes, and no human intervention for oversight because it had been shown how to do them hundred more, a bunch of times, and it showed the difference. You might encounter this. This might be bigger than normal. This might be off to the left, the person's left, not your left, or whatever. I mean, it knew all those, and people could just stand back and go, and it can emulate it exactly. No distractions because it got in an argument with its wife that day. No worries about the Red Sox are in a slump or anything like that. Just do the job exactly, step by step by step, flawlessly. And
We're
Microsoft,
getting we're getting tired from performing five appendectomies that day.
back, yeah. Um, and Microsoft has released what they call medical superintelligence, where you know that their bots that are studying medical can diagnose better than doctors.
Yeah, for diagnosis, I see it. For, you know, medical interactions, I think it can help an anesthesiologist avoid a lot of risk. You know, there are places where I see it being a helpful technology, uh, but you know, taking people out of the surgery room, no, I think you still need the anesthesiologist, you still need the surgeon to be watching what's going on, so you're still going to pay those people to be in the room. uh you know, at the time you say, no, I don't want to pay for a human anesthesiologist and a human surgery to be there, just let the bot do it. Um, yeah, I'm not comfortable with that yet. I still think that's going to end up being a murder bot 2000 to someone.
So are some doctors.
Yeah, so are some doctors. Um, let's see. Uh, Derek is saying, how wildly different are people's AI searches? Well, you know, the prompts, I often have to rewrite a prompt two or three times to get what I actually wanted. So until they fix that, and the more AI thinks about what I ask, the more likely I generally don't like its answer. So if AI, you know, if your prompt is very well specified and covered all the ambiguities that could come up with it, then and you're very specific about what you exactly want back, you know, then AI can fire back a 2-second response that's probably pretty good. But you know, if you ask AI to write an opera start to finish, that opera's probably gonna suck. So, you
Yeah.
know, especially if you like opera. Um, you know, that's the problem. If you ask AI to write a bedtime story, you know, involving a pumpkin, a mouse, and a chicken, well, it's gonna do pretty good at that. But if you want it to write, you know, an epic tragedy that's 1,000 pages long, eh, probably not so good yet.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here is more information about chameleon mode. I guess I could have asked ChatGPT too. So sorry about that. You know, it could have been a let me Google that for you type of thing. Creates unlimited unique browser identities. Well, the problem is Google is looking at verified users with longevity to their history. So if all your users are new, that's probably better than incognito. Incognito is probably better than headless. So, there's probably a tree to what Google likes and trusts more. Um, so that's the trick. And the problem is clicking on things destroys the context for analysis. So you gotta have the context without using it to click on things, or you're gonna burn it for analysis. If you use your logged in accounts for CTR, you can't use them for rank tracking. Where is your need greater? Some people need the CTR more, some people need the accuracy in ranking. If you're an SEO agency, you don't want to burn your rank trackers with CTR. So yeah, depends on your needs. Uh, let's see. Warm Wind OS AI looks interesting. I'll have to check it out. I don't know anything about it. Big ideas. Terry, you just convinced me to invest into Microsoft stocks. Man, you're going slow. I already did that. I already got on Nvidia. You got to be faster than that. Nvidia did a 10 to 1 split. So if you weren't in before the split, you kind of missed that opportunity. Will it split 2 or 3 more times before AI is done being a big deal? Probably, because that's what happened when Google came out. That's what happened when the web came out. That's what happened when e-commerce came out. So, and history echoes. Um, let's see. The only problem is if Microsoft got involved, is doing surgery, they will leave bloatware within the stitches. Well, you know, Google's only going to do surgery for the people who bid the highest. They're going to do the best surgery for the highest bids.
The stitches will be in their brand name or something with their logo.
Yeah, yeah.
Have Google stitched on your side.
Yeah, bid higher if you want less chance of malpractice. um, it's kind of scary, but if the outcome is based on the mind share of the AI to dedicate over time, you know, uh, and quantum computing might be that way too, you know?
Yeah.
So we joke about it, but what if they gave you free surgery if you had a permanent ad tattoo on your body?
If it
How
can
many people would say,
raise
yeah, I'll do that?
if it can raise the quality of the floor, I kind of like that. If AI can knock out the worst human doctors, that might be a good thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I say it might be a good thing. If AI can knock out the worst human lawyers, that might be a good thing. If AI can knock out the worst human programmers, that might be a good thing for security. It might be a good thing for performance. But I haven't seen AI rise to that occasion yet.
Well,
Um,
gentlemen, I have to bounce. I have an appointment that I have to get to, but keep going and answering the questions.
Yeah, there's only two more comments, so yeah, no worries if you have to bounce.
See you guys next
Um,
week.
yeah, thank you for the prezzo.
No problem.
It was more about different people asking the same question, not an individual prompt. So yeah, good point. Last question here. At what point would I need to utilize manipulated CTR? I don't think most cases need that. Does it work for local? In small amounts if done properly. Um, but here's the thing. If you look at minimum viable SEO, I almost never need to engage CTR to rank. So if I can get there without it cost effectively, it doesn't need to be in my model for minimum viable SEO. If it's the only way you've ever ranked, then you're probably going to invest in it a lot. But you should probably learn some other routes to the top. Um, let's see, is SEO dead in 2025? I think you missed Lee's prezzo, so go back to the beginning and watch it. um, let's see. Love that because I don't want to use it. There are many, many, many ways to get to the top. All right. So, uh, I'll get there. I'll beat the skyscraper article, 50,000 words with keywords throughout. I'll beat it with 2,700 words at a much higher keyword density. And then, Terry Samuels will come in and say, look at this, nothing but schema. And then Jordan Pierce says, I rank stuff all the time and I never use schema. It's because there's many ways to the top. Chase Reiner used to say, I don't build backlinks. And for some keywords, that'll work. And then Leo come in and say, relevant density, and then Derek Iwaziuk will come in and say authority backlinks. I don't have time for this. And so there are many ways to the top. Don't let anyone tell you that there's only one way to do it. And when you see Terry Samuels say schema is amazing, and you see Jordan Pierce say I never use schema, they're both right. So just know that there's many ways to the top. And probably the question you need to answer the most is how can I efficiently and cost effectively get to the top? Because emulating the skyscrapers is not the fastest, cheapest way to do it. We can all overspend in SEO. Let's see. Yeah, you should really kind of outline. Uh, uh, the question asker was saying I should get it tattooed as a reminder. You should really kind of document your minimum viable SEO, and you should really think long and hard before you add something to it, because it can blow up your ability to grow your roster. It can turn your SEO business from being, massively profitable to being a less than minimum wage job. So, put some thought into it, definitely. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. And I got to go as well, too, guys, because I'm starving. All right. Let's see. Stop.